What's up everybody? Thanks for tuning in once again. Today we are hearing Reddit's most amazing coincidences. There are some pretty incredible ones, so make sure to listen to the end so you don't miss any. Reddit Readings, Episode 15. What's the most amazing coincidence that has ever happened to you? Mate was making fun of me because I had white paint on my blazer. The guy got shat on by a seagull. I had a similar experience. I got up to fuck out of the way avoiding a flock of seagulls flying over me and my friend. My friend who was sitting at the picnic table was laughing at me about it. I was like, laugh all you want, but I got shit on by a bird once and I don't want to get shit on again. She responded, do you know what the chances of that are? Just then, a giant glob of karmic justice landed right on her shoulder and dripped down the front of her shirt. She was looking thoroughly disgusted. I sat back down across from her and she questioned why I stopped my avoidance scheme. I picked up the house phone to call a friend, and he was already on the line. He had called me and I had picked up the receive, just before it had a chance to ring. Blew my fucking mind. I was out drinking the other night and my friend was dropping me home. When I got in his car I texted my mum we were on the way because she worries. As soon as I press send, I get a text from her asking how I am going and when I'll be home. It confused me because I just told her. It was literally at the same time. When I got home, I checked her phone. Her phone told her she messaged me first, and mine said I messaged her first. A mother's intuition. Same thing just happened to me. Was meeting a client for coffee, arrived at the shop, caught a guy's eye and looked back down at my phone to press send saying I was there. Next second we both look down and back up at each other as our messages arrive. I'm an attorney. I met with a client pursuing disability benefits. Very sick and very sympathetic. She had an open and shut case, to the point I even suggested that she file on her own so she could avoid paying me anything. You don't know my maiden name. It's Ms. Smith. You represented my brother 2 years ago. You arranged for members of the community to rebuild his house. If I end up paying $10,000 it would not be enough to cover what you have done for my family. I was literally thinking about quitting what I do, just the day before. The first time I ever farted in front of my girlfriend was the exact time she farted in front of me for the first time. We were laying in bed and we both farted and looked at each other confused and anxious. We laughed quite a bit after. As a kid my parents took me to Butlins one year, an all-inclusive kid-friendly holiday park in the UK, and got on really well with the neighbors. The next year we went to Spain, and the same family was in the same hotel for the same 2 weeks as us. The next year we went to a different Butlins and our first week there was the same family as second week. My parents and their parents made plans to meet up again the next year, and we never saw each other again. Went for coffee with a potential new housemate with 2 other confirmed housemates. Get chatting to the potential new housemate, and find out she's from Spain. One of my confirmed housemates is from Spain, and asked where she was from. Long story short, they're from the same town, went to the same school, and live streets away from each other. Further conversation reveals that they were actually part of the same group of friends when they were really young kids, and their parents used to hang out together, and they both coincidentally left Spain at the same time, to go to the same, not very well known or big university, and nearly ended up living together. Going to a bar in a different country. Bartender wanted to see my identification so I showed him my state ID. I have somewhat of a rare name. Turns out that was exactly his name as well. He called his father who came down to meet me as well. We had a good conversation over some beers. When I was 9, I had a best friend named Naomi. The next year, I moved to another state and Naomi and I lost touch. Nearly 8 years later, when I was taking a standardized test to get into college, who do I run into at the test center? Naomi. Now here's the best part. The test was in a different state to the one we previously lived in. Also, all the candidates writing the test were randomly assigned test centers within the state. Best coincidence ever. Edit. For those wondering, Naomi and I have since rekindled our friendship and are still in touch. I was kicked out of a concert in Grand Prairie, Texas. It was at a large venue and I got in front row and yelled that the singer sucked. 10 years later I had moved like an hour from my hometown and got a roommate that I didn't know. One night he was telling me the story about the concert and the guy who was kicked out. Apparently he was also there and thought it was great. Went grocery shopping with girlfriend. We both bought pineapples. We checked out through adjacent lanes. When I got to her home, she realized she forgot to take the pineapple she had bought. So I told her she can have mine, and I will go to the store on my way home and pick up hers. When I went to the car, I realized I forgot my pineapple too. So imagine me going to one lane asking, "Did I leave a pineapple here?" Then walking to the next lane with a pineapple in hand and asking the same question. Both cashiers had a what the hell look on their faces. When I was in college, my girlfriend and I were doing the hostel thing in Europe one summer. We were broke, but her mom worked for a big airline, so the airfare was super cheap. After London we went to Paris, and her mother suggested that we look up her old work colleague Kurt and see if we could stay with him. Free board? Sounds great. So we called, and his wife answered. Kurt was out of town, but called back tomorrow once they'd had a chance to talk. We did, and Kurt said it would be fine. Gave us directions and we were set. When we got off at the metro we were immediately lost, but we called Kurt back and he said just wait, he'd come get us, which he did. Everything was immediately super awkward, but what are you gonna do? The small talk was even more strained. So, you still work for Delta? No, I'm in technical writing. Weird, basic details just were not lining up. We got back to their house. I took a shower. His daughter come home from school, and it has probably been 90 minutes since we'd met face to face and Kurt decides to drop this bomb on us. Hey listen, you seem real nice, but I don't think that I know who you are. I talked to my wife though, and if you want you can stay here for the night, but you're Kurt. I am, but I never worked for Delta and I don't think we've ever met. True, we called back her mom. Turns out we had Kurt's phone number one digit off. We'd swapped a 5 for a 2. Called the wrong number, and got a different American named Kurt living in Paris, and then we'd gone to his house, pretended to know each other. I took a damn shower, and then we all agreed we were total strangers. We called the right number, got the real Kurt who lived like 2 miles away, and whose daughter was in the same class at school. Both Kurts were lovely, but we opted to stay with the one we knew. Finding the great women of medieval Europe, who I've studied since I was a kid. History geek. On my family tree a few years ago, I've been studying my own ancestors and didn't know it. I was born in the exact hour that my aunt died. Apparently I am the spitting image of her. Respawn complete. I was in the same class as a girl with the exact same name as me. First, middle and last. Born the same day as me at the same hospital. My brother was in the same class as her brother, both had the exact same names. First, middle and last. And both born on the same day at the same hospital. It was pretty weird. On honeymoon. Halfway across the world on a 30-person plane between small cities in Thailand. We deplane and I hear my name called. Classmate from 10 years prior. Was great friends. Was on the same plane. I had gone to St. Augustine for a short weekend trip. On the way there I just happened to think about this girl I'd gone to college with in Orlando. Hadn't talked to her in years and just kinda wondered what she might be up to. Ran into her in a bar there the first night. She was there celebrating graduating PA school and we got a chance to catch up. My husband, his older sister and his mother all had the exact same dream about his twin sister randomly dying one night. When I asked if any of them were going to call her and check up on her, they all looked at me like I was crazy. I mean, I get it. I'm not superstitious really, but it was such a weird dream for them all to have. She was fine by the way. My dad makes shepherd's pie for dinner sometimes, but he hadn't in nearly a year. One day at school, a couple of my friends made shepherds in their cooking class. I had some and it was pretty good, and I planned on asking my dad to make it one day soon. I arrived home later that day and told my dad, I think you can guess what was already in the oven. My wife's birthday is exactly 10 weeks after mine. We now have a daughter with a birthday exactly 10 weeks before mine. It also means we have the same weekday for our birthdays each year. When I was young I lived in Germany, military brat. My brother and I played with the neighbor's son who was about our age, younger than me, older than my brother. The German boy's mother had an older sister who lived in the US. Jump years forward and I am in college. My wife and I were dating seriously and I went to Chicago to meet her family for the first time. While there I discovered that her neighbor was the sister who had moved to the US. Even crazier, her oldest son owned a business in the town my parents had retired in. The final crazy part of the entire coincidence is shortly after we married I was offered a job in Pennsylvania. We moved and once we got a place met the neighbors. One of them was the original German boy I played with as a child going to school here in the States. It's been over a decade since, and no other cray run-ins, but never know what tomorrow will bring. I was at a Walmart with my dad just after a snowstorm when we found a dash cam on sale for about $5. We thought, hey, that's a good deal, and bought it. We finished shopping, and hooked it up in his truck to make sure it worked properly, and drove away. As we left the parking lot, I looked at him and said, you know, it'd be pretty funny if we got into a car accident on the way home. We laughed. 10 minutes down the road, some lady loses control of her car going around an icy curve, and slams into us. Her car's totaled. Our car's totaled, but thankfully no one is hurt. The cops that arrived initially thought that we were at fault, due to how the tire marks in the snow looked, but thanks to the dash cam we literally just bought, we were cleared of any wrongdoing. Still creeps me out that I called a car accident, and I avoid making that joke now out of fear that God will call me out on my bullshit again. Flipped 2 coins in a row, both landed on their side, and naturally I have no proof of this occurrence. When I was in college in Texas, back in the early 90s, I took a summer trip to England. My flight left on the last day of classes. I had an English paper due that day, and the prof insisted that it was due in his box by noon. Of course I procrastinated, and didn't turn it in until 1 o'clock, and mine was the only paper in there. I was sure I had screwed up, but I had to go catch my flight. I got to London and the next day I was on the tube, telling my friend that I was sure I had failed the class because the prof never got my paper. It's going to be hanging over my head the entire trip, I said. There's no way I'll know if he got my paper. We arrived at our stop. The doors opened and there was my prof, waiting for the train. Dr. X, did you get my paper? Yes I did. Great, thanks, I said, and went on to enjoy my vacation. Thank you for listening to Reddit Readings episode 15. And if you enjoyed it, consider subscribing and leaving a rating.